So Andy Farrell is to be the new coach of the British and Irish Lions in the least surprising coaching appointment since, well, probably Warren Gatland when he was coach of the Lions, because that was never a shock either. Andy Farrell, the Ireland head coach, is the man to lead the British and Irish Lions on their tour of Australia in 2025, which seems a long way away. It will be here before we know it, and I can't wait for it. I think there are some concerns about the series, which I will get onto in this video. But drop a comment down below. I don't think anyone is going to be upset with Andy Farrell being appointed. I think fans, media, pundits, everyone involved in the game thinks he is a brilliant selection for obvious reasons. I think there's other conversations around the tour that are interesting to have as well. But there are a number of reasons that Farrell is a great appointment. I mean, you look at what he's done with this Ireland team, where he was able to take them. And I know they came up short in a World Cup quarter-final, but frankly, that was one of the great test matches that could have gone either way. If Ireland win that, with the greatest respect to Argentina, they're getting themselves to a World Cup final as well. And then who knows? The point is he's done a great job with this Ireland team, taking them away to New Zealand and winning a test series there for the first time, taking them to the number one team in the world, the Six Nations Grand Slam. Everything he's done with them means he's worthy of this appointment. But it's not actually just what he's done with Ireland. I think what's really important as well is that he is so familiar with the Lions. He was an assistant coach in 2013. He was the same again in 2017. He didn't go on the tour to South Africa, the most recent one, because he'd only just taken charge of Ireland, and it was just before they'd really started hitting their stride and achieved kind of all the things that I've just mentioned there. But Lions experience is important. In fact, it's vital, I think, for a role like this, because the Lions is a brilliant thing. I think it is the highest accolade within the Northern Hemisphere for a player, for a coach. It is something that should be protected and is always struggling to find its place in modern professional rugby. I'm sure we'll have those conversations again when the tour comes round about the access Farrell gets to players in the build-up to the tour and all that sort of stuff. But the Lions is an utterly brilliant concept. I can't wait for the tour, particularly because we're going to have fans back. They were missed so much with that tour in South Africa, affected by COVID. And he gets that. He gets the significance of the Lions because he has been a part of it. But also from a coaching point of view, I think it is such a unique challenge for coaches to get a group of players together. And I know they're brilliant players when you're selecting the best players from 4 different nations, but still to be able to mould them into a team that can then go and play a 3-test series is a real challenge. It was something Warren Gatland was brilliant at. And the fact that Farrell has worked under Gatland and understands those pressures and those responsibilities, I think is a really good thing here. Because a great coach doesn't always equal a great Lions coach. For example, look at Sir Clive Woodward, the job he did with England, leading them to a World Cup in 2003, Lions coach in 2005, and the tour went terribly. And I think Sir Clive Woodward would still stick to his philosophy, which was it's too short a period to be able to properly mould a team. He basically had a midweek team, like a B team, and then a test team for the weekend. So there were splits in the camp. I think you need the opposite of that on a Lions tour. You need to bring everyone together. You have to be able to get a team bonded very quickly, make everyone close within that environment. Something Warren Gatland, again, going back to him, was very good at, and something that players that play for Andy Farrell say he's very good at as well. Sam Warburton was writing in the Times in the UK today about how good Farrell was on those tours where Warburton would have been the captain at bringing people together. Really good people manager as well as being a great rugby brain. So I think there's a number of reasons that he's great for the Lions as well, in particular because of that experience he's had and understanding what goes in to these sorts of tours. However, and I'm sure plenty of you will be thinking this already, a tour to Australia. Australia is a brilliant country to tour, but the Wallabies at the moment are at as low an ebb as they have ever been, certainly in the professional era. And there are serious question marks over how competitive this Lions tour is going to be. Now, the warm-up matches I think is always going to be an issue. When you compare who the Lions face when they tour Australia compared to South Africa and New Zealand, they generally get more challenged in those warm-up games when they tour those other countries. So I think that is a concern for the Lions in terms of the preparation they will be getting to play Test match rugby. But of course, the wider concern here is just where Australian rugby is. Off the back of a World Cup where they've been knocked out at the pool stage for the first time, the Eddie Jones saga where he's returned, come back, made an absolute mess of it, and then swanned off to Japan at the end of it. And then a wider point of the place of rugby in Australia at the moment. So there's a whole different load of factors for us to talk about here. Number one is how competitive will the Wallabies be? The next head coach appointment by Rugby Australia is pivotal. They have to get that right. However, and maybe I'm keeping faith here, maybe I'm being overly positive, but I would back Australia and the Wallabies to be able to get themselves into a far more competitive place in, what's it going to be, 18 months, maybe a little bit more time for that Lions tour in 2025. I hope that is the case because we want to see a competitive series. But wider than that as well, as I've just hinted at, the place of rugby union as a sport in Australia, it has been slipping down the pecking order for a while. That's corresponded to the performance of the Wallabies and no longer being regularly one of the top teams in the world, being beaten by teams who previously they had a better record over, being beaten more regularly by the likes of Ireland, England, beaten by Italy. You've got NRL, you've got cricket, you've got AFL, the place of rugby in Australia. I think this Lions tour is really important for the sport in the country, and so I hope it's a success commercially, and I hope it's a success from a sporting point of view that the Wallabies are competitive. But I would imagine many of you may well have concerns in that area. I think they're valid concerns. As I say, at the moment, I'm still keeping faith with the fact that Australia will get themselves into a far more competitive position than we saw them at the World Cup. They've still got good players in that team. But if the tour was tomorrow, 3-0 to the Lions, do people think? I could understand why people might say that. The final point to mention here is Owen Farrell, which is going to be a storyline, well, potentially is going to be a storyline building up to the tour because of him stepping away from England and potentially going to play in France. If that rules him out of international rugby, could he then still get called up to a Lions tour? Normally you would say no, but actually looking at the Lions, and I get it, there is, what have we got? We've got 2 Six Nations before them, we've got summer tours, we've got so much rugby to be played. Fly half is an interesting actually selection. If we were to look at it now, Johnny Sexton retired, Dan Biggar retired. So you've got Owen Farrell, who might not be playing international rugby. Finn Russell is the other obvious guy. But then it's probably a position where there'll be a lot of competition there, or a lot of question marks maybe is a better way to phrase it rather than competition. A lot of question marks over who the fly half would be. I think that's another reason why discussions about Owen Farrell, other than the fact that he's Andy Farrell's son, would be intriguing in the build-up to the series. But that's my kind of general view on the Andy Farrell appointment. Drop a comment down below. What do you make of it? Any concerns for anyone? I think across the board, people are going to be pretty happy with it. But as I say, you can be a great international coach, but I think it takes something different to be a great Lions coach. And I believe Andy Farrell will have the minerals, will have the credentials to be exactly that. But there's no doubting the fact it is a different kind of challenge, a challenge he's been part of before as an assistant coach. And I cannot wait for it. I know from a competitive standpoint, tours to South Africa and tours to New Zealand are probably more appealing from a sporting point of view. But in terms of touring Australia and the country it is, I'm going to be out there for the Lions. I haven't even sorted my plans yet, but I'm just saying now I'm going to be out there. I don't care what I'm doing. Videos for the channel, hopefully some other work as well. Whatever it is, I want to be in Australia because I think that would be a great couple of months following the Lions in that country. So I look forward to reading your comments. If you're able to like the video as well, give it a little boost. Massively appreciate that. And also, if you've made it this far in the video and you're not subscribed to the channel, then go and subscribe. Make sure you don't miss out on any of the content coming your way. I will leave it there and see you in the next one.